right. It has been about a week. Yeah, I have been busy. But, that's neither here or there. You're here for the low down, dirty, good stuff. So let's get right into it. So today we are talking about how can we help you, Google start screen? No, that's not it. We are talking about, can a blood test detect cancer earlier? What you need to know about lipid biopsy. Okay, now this is a new branch of cancer detection. Basically, it allows you to detect, I think, up to 7 or 8 different cancers now from your blood. Okay, blood tests will be able to determine whether you have the chance of getting one of these cancers. Let's get into it. This is amazing stuff, awesome stuff, future stuff. Okay. So the question is, can a simple blood test detect cancer before symptoms appear? Liquid biopsy and multi-cancer early detection (MCED) tests are reshaping how doctors think about cancer screenings. Okay, this is a real thing. It's here. Lego. A new simulation study suggests that blood tests capable of screening for multiple cancers at once could dramatically shift when cancers are caught. Modeling 5 million US adults aged 50 to 84 across 14 solid tumors, researchers found that adding annual multi-cancer early detection (MCED) blood tests to usual care increased early stage cancer diagnosis by 10 to 34% and cut late stage diagnosis by 45% over a decade. The biggest drops in advanced disease were seen in lung, colorectal, and pancreatic cancers, cancers that are often deadly when found late. So basically, we are able to detect some of the deadliest cancers now from a simple blood test. This is just future kind of stuff. Like I said, most cancers can be hereditary. Most cancers can be transferred down, especially breast cancer, testicular cancer, stuff like that. Whether you're going to get it or not, or at least whether you have a high percentage chance of getting it or not. Let's continue reading. Maybe I'll answer my own question. For patients and health systems, this means potentially catching lethal tumors that currently lack robust screening options before they become untreatable, improving survival while reducing the intensity and cost of treatment. A liquid biopsy is a blood test that looks for signs of cancer in your blood without needing surgery or a traditional tissue biopsy. Instead of removing a piece of tumor tissue, doctors draw blood and analyze it for cancer markers such as circulating tumor cells, CTCs. Wow, those would be horrible to see in your blood. Fragments of tumor DNA, ctDNA, and other cancer-related substances that tumors shed into the bloodstream. This is awesome that we have the technology to detect things as minute as little tiny cancer cells within our blood. This is where this stuff is just mind-boggling. It's just, I try not to get excited about this kind of stuff, but the one thing humans suck at is cancer, right? We have not been able to cure. Like, cancer is the end game. When you hear someone has cancer, it's more of, how bad it is. It's not whether it can be treated or, anything like that. It's usually, how bad is it and is it life or death? And that's because once we get it, depending on the cancer, of course, there's really nothing we can do about it. I made a video before about chemotherapy, and the cure is worse than disease in some cases. So this is awesome that we're able to cut out so much additional unnecessary cures, like maybe chemo, like I said, with the stuff I was talking about before. I think it was, what's it called? The not the lifter, that is the engines. Forget the name of it. I'll have to go back and look it up. But we'll be able to tell what's going on with blood from that, and then with this we'll be able to see also what's going on. So what makes this particularly powerful is that these tests can detect cancer even when tumors are too small to see. on imaging and before any symptoms appear. Early stage cancers release measurable markers into the blood months or even years before a conventional diagnosis can be found. So cancer releases certain telltales, certain signals or markers into the blood months or even years before the cancer actually pops up. And this technology allows us to detect those markers months or even years beforehand, preventing so much negative cancer diagnosis. Detecting cancer from a blood test may seem like something out of a futuristic sci-fi movie, which it is. Guys, I can't explain enough how amazingly futuristic this is. Like I said, the stuff we're able to do with our blood, with our piss, with our hair, with our semen, guys, it is amazing the stuff we can see both in the past and the present of that particular person. It is getting just crazy. It's getting awesome. But the concept actually began in the 19th century. In 1869, Australian scientist Thomas Ashworth discovered circulating tumor cells in the blood of a patient with advanced cancer. Early observation hinted at how cancer spreads through the body, but it took over a century before scientists recognized its diagnostic potential, basically that it could be detected in the blood. Since 2010, rapid technological advances have transformed this concept into practical clinical tools. Blood-based cancer tests now analyze multiple biomarkers, including CTCs, ctDNA, exosomes, tumor platelets, and microRNAs and circulating RNA. All these things are early telltales that we can detect in the blood in regards to cancer. FDA-approved blood tests for cancer. What's available right now? Well, the FDA approved its first liquid biopsy test, Cell Search, in 2013 for monitoring patients with metastatic breast, colon, and prostate cancer. Since then, the field has advanced rapidly. In 2016, Cobas EGRF mutation test V2 approved for lung cancer. In 2020, Guardian 360 CDx and Foundation One Liquid CDx approved for broad profiling of solid tumors. And roughly 2 years ago, Shield approved. Shield, like the agents of Shield exists. I knew it. Are they Hydra as well? Oh no. Hydra, no. Actually, Hydra, like I said, my rule is Hydra did nothing wrong. That's a whole nother topic. Shield approved as the first blood test screening tool for average risk colorectal cancer. Now, currently, routine screening is only recommended for 4 main cancer types: breast, cervical, colorectal, and lung cancer, the worst by far. This leaves most cancers without early detection options. MCED tests aim to change that by screening for many different cancers with a single blood draw. These tests analyze fragments of DNA circulating in the blood, looking for cancer-associated patterns such as mutations, DNA fragmentation patterns, and changes in DNA methylation or chemical modifications to the DNA that indicate cancer. Recent real-world data from the Pathfinder 2 study at the Oregon Health and Scientific OHSU demonstrate the practical impact of MCED testing, adding that the Galleri MCED test, MCED test to standard screenings increased the number of screen-detected cancers more than 7-fold. Ooh, man. Oh, man, this reading, boy. I'm good. Let's go. Most cancers identified were found at early stages, and about 3/4 were cancers that have no existing screening tests. However, experts emphasize that major questions remain. How should doctors confirm a positive MCED result? Which population should be tested and how often? How will the balance of earlier diagnosis, false positive, and possible overdiagnosis translate into long-term benefit, harm, and cost at population level? So this technology, just like with in-game technology, comes with lots of additional questions that just, need to be answered before it can get, that good old-fashioned, stage 3 human trials. Although, like I said, I guess they are already kind of testing it on people. But by stage 3 human trials, I mean before it's like, a medicine that you can, buy at like a shop. You can go to Walgreens, get a little test, see if you have cancer. It's gonna be wild. So why this matters ultimately, okay? Why is this important? Why is this great news that you should be happy about, especially if you have a history of cancer in your family or any kind of hereditary cancer worries like that? Why does this matter? For cancer, early detection makes a critical difference in patient outcomes. This is obvious, you know, the earlier you get something detected, you know, the better chance you are of surviving. Finding cancer early does not just improve survival and quality of life, it also reduces the massive financial burden of treatments that become far more expensive when cancer is caught late. So yeah, like I said, chemo, extremely expensive. If you can catch, you know, the cancer diagnosis 3 years, 3 years before, you know, you have to worry about it. That is way cheaper just to take maybe some pills instead of having to go through all of chemo. Like I said, that is a very big deal, a very big reason why it's so important. Now, current barriers to blood-based cancer screenings. Now, biological and technical limitations. Okay, there's clinical validation, and then there's access and equity barriers. Okay, high costs, limited insurance coverage, and unclear reimbursement pathways restrict access for most of the really groundbreaking kinds of stuff. And this is just basic, you know, knowledge. You know, the more advanced, the more experimental the surgery or the medicine, the more it's going to cost. Now, like I said, this basically sums up the video, but I mean, in conclusion, the promise and reality of blood-based cancer detection. That's basically what we have. Okay, we have a reality where we can promise blood-based cancer detection in the future for various kinds of cancer. Now, like I said, we're only having, you know, we only can do like maybe 5 for sure, but like I said, that obviously will increase to where we can detect even the, you know, less serious cancers. Obviously, they're trying to work on the more serious ones, and then they'll work their way down. So once again, what is a liquid biopsy? It is a blood test that analyzes cancer markers circulating in your bloodstream to detect, monitor, and guide treatment for cancer, all without invasive surgery. And that's basically what we're at right now. As evidence builds and technology improves, these blood tests may become a routine part of how we catch cancer early and save so many lives. Okay, like I said, cancer is the one thing that is like the human stain. Like we're able to really manage lots of stuff, not cure particularly, but manage it and have a successful living with some stuff. Cancer, at least some of the more intense cancers, definitely not. Cancer is the one thing that when, you know, like I said, when aliens come and ask us, you know, prove yourself, what have you done? You know, we can say we've cured the single hardest disease. That's gonna be long down the line, but a first step to curing it is being able to detect it. Years before. Oh, great. Okay, I have people who've died of cancer. One of my best friends, Adolf, rest in peace, died of cancer. It would have been great to be able to detect this years and years ahead, so he could have maybe prevented such things. And like I said, that's just one person. So like I said, and this all affects us. I'm pretty sure we all know people who've died of cancer, and that's why this is so great and such important news, and why it's so positive for the human race as a whole. So I'll end it with that. You guys have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, great rest of your year, and I will see you later.